Celebrations, especially birthdays, have long been synonymous with cake. Without it, something feels incomplete. Yet, after days of mindful disciplined eating, indulging in refined flour, sugar, artificial flavors, and colors feels like undoing all those efforts. So, what's the solution? A cake that celebrates both joy and well being. One that is indulgent, moist, and delicious, yet made with good ingredients. And that's exactly what we are making today. A millet cake that is proof that you don't have to choose between taste and health. So let's see how to make guilt-free and eggless millet cupcakes. For baking, precision is very important. So before you start, make sure you have a set of measuring cups and the teaspoon measures. This is going to be very important to get good results while baking. Today we're making foxtail millet cupcakes, and for that we need the following ingredients. In the dry ingredients, I'm using 1 cup of foxtail millet flour. This flour has been made by pre-soaking the foxtail millet for 8 hours and then fully sun drying it, and then it has been ground into a flour, which means the soaking time is going to be reduced when we are using such flour which has been made with pre-soaked millet. You're also going to need half a teaspoon of baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Now these make up the dry ingredients, and for the wet ingredients, we're going to be using overripe bananas. After mashing them, we need around 3/4 cups of this banana, which means around 3 to 4 bananas depending on the size. We're also going to be using 1 cup, that is 200 ml of thick curd. Make sure that it is thick. If it's watery, the whole batter becomes thin and you will not get a nice texture for your cupcakes. We're also going to be using 1/4 cup of melted butter, and into the wet ingredients I'm also going to add half cup of palm jaggery powder. Today I'm using toddy palm jaggery powder, but you can use any palm jaggery powder, which means coconut sugar is also good, date sugar is also good, any kind of jaggery powder which has been made from a palm species of tree. And we're going to be using 2 to 3 drops of vanilla extract. Note, this is not vanilla essence, it is the pure extract made from vanilla beans. And here I also have a little extra foxtail millet flour, which I'm going to be using for dusting. So not too many ingredients. It's a very basic and simple recipe. So let's begin. Let's start by first mixing the dry ingredients together. For this, I'm going to need a bowl. So I'm going to add in the foxtail millet flour. I have already measured and kept 1 cup of the foxtail millet flour. To this, we're going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder. As I said, precision is important. So we're going to use our finger to get the correct measure. And also we're going to need half a teaspoon of baking soda. into the same bowl, we're going to also add 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now salt helps in the activation of the baking soda. So we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So this is all the dry ingredients. Let's just give them a mix. We do avoid baking soda and baking powder where they are not absolutely necessary, but for eggless baking we will require the usage of baking soda and baking powder. So we're using small quantities of these only when unavoidable. So let's set aside the dry ingredients. After mixing the dry ingredients, it's now time to prepare the bananas. So let's mash the bananas. I'm guessing I'm going to need 3 to 4 bananas. So let's first peel them. And with the help of a fork, we're going to make it into a nice paste. Now that the bananas have been mashed, I'm going to measure out 3/4 cups of the mashed banana. This is half a cup, so I'm first going to fill half a cup. And then I'm going to use 1/4 cup. So together they're going to make 3/4 cup. And we've got it just about right. 4 bananas made 3/4 cup. So we're going to set the rest aside. So now we're going to mix all the wet ingredients into another mixing bowl. So I've taken a huge mixing bowl because next the dry ingredients are also going to go into this bowl. So let's start by adding our 3/4 cups of mashed banana into the mixing bowl. And then I'm going to add in the curd. So we have about 200 ml of thick curd. And also 1/4 cup of melted butter. Now since I want the palm jaggery to dissolve well, before we add in the dry ingredients, the palm jaggery powder, that is half cup of palm jaggery powder, is going to go into the wet ingredients. And we're going to whisk all this well together so that the palm jaggery is going to get dissolved. The process of whisking is not just to mix the ingredients together, it also aerates the mixture. So when there is aeration happening, that's when we end up with soft and fluffy cupcakes. So this is a very important step. Whisk well so that aeration happens. Okay. So now that all the wet ingredients are combined together, we're going to start to add the dry ingredients which we had already mixed and kept aside little by little into the wet ingredients and mix everything together. We do not want any lumps in the cupcake batter. So we're going to add little by little and mix well. This is the consistency. As you can see, it's not too runny, neither is it too thick. It should just drop. That's the perfect consistency. Now lastly, into this, I'm going to add in 2 to 3 drops of the vanilla extract. This is quite strong, so just 2 to 3 drops is sufficient. Please do not add too much. So a final whisk. So as you remember, we used pre-soaked foxtail millet flour. Hence, it's sufficient to let this batter rest for 20 minutes before we're going to put them into the cups. So while this rests, let's prepare the cups which we're going to use for baking. So I'm going to set this aside. So usually people are accustomed to using silicone molds or aluminium trays, but since we are not going to use these, we're avoiding them. We're going to be using small steel cups for making the cupcakes. Now it is a valid question that this batter can be put into a big baking tray as well. Yes, that is correct, but what is my experience is that when we make millet cupcakes, which are smaller in size, they bake evenly. So if we make a huge cake, I have found that often the center is undercooked while the outer part is going to get charred or overcooked. So to get the best results, best consistency, I prefer making cupcakes, but it's left to you. So with cupcakes, it's much easier to get it right. While I'm not saying it's impossible to make bigger cakes, but it's much more difficult. So let's start with the most simple thing and we'll make cupcakes. So here I'm going to use steel molds. So while using steel molds, we're going to need the greasing of the molds first and then dusting. So let's see how that is done. So we're going to use butter. Just dip your fingers in a little bit of butter and smear it on all sides of the cup which you're going to use. And then take some dry foxtail millet flour. I'm just going to sprinkle it into the cup. And then we're going to tap the cup so that the dry flour sticks on all sides evenly. And once we have got it all around, we're going to remove the extra. We don't want too much of the dry flour, so we're going to tap to remove the extra. So here we go. Our cups are ready. I have already prepared the rest of my cups and set them aside. So once 20 minutes of resting time is done, we're going to fill them into our prepared cups, and by then we're going to preheat the oven. 180 degrees is ideal temperature for baking millet cupcakes. So in your oven, set 180 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes. The preheating time required is 15 minutes. The best ideal setting would be one where there is heat from both the sides. Don't keep only bottom heat or above heat, all the directions. And if you have the air circulating, that would be even better. So now let's prepare our oven by putting it on preheat. While our oven is preheating, we're going to transfer the batter into our molds. So remember that the batter is going to raise in the oven, so don't overfill your cup. Tap it gently so that the batter evens out, and do the same process with all of the molds. One by one, we're going to fill all our greased and dusted molds. So the measures which we used are going to give us 12 mini cupcakes. So all the cupcakes are in the molds, and now it's time to put them into the oven. Baking is also going to be at 180 degrees centigrade for 25 minutes. The cupcakes are baked and have been brought out of the oven. Let's check if they are done. So we're going to use a toothpick. We'll just put it into the center of the cupcake, and there shouldn't be anything sticking to the toothpick. Then we know that it's cooked and done. Though the cupcake smells amazing and is really tempting, it's not yet time to eat the cupcakes. We need to wait for them to fully cool down. So we're going to transfer them onto the cooling rack, wait for them to cool completely, which needs at least an hour before we can demold them and then enjoy them. So I'm quickly going to transfer them onto the cooling rack so that they quickly cool down. And we're going to wait. After 1 hour of complete cooling, it's time to demold. And you can see how easily the cupcakes are just sliding out. So light some candles, make a wish, and enjoy your millet cupcakes. Here's to healthier celebrations. We'll be back soon with many more interesting and tasty millet recipes. Until then, happy cooking!